Oh my god.
Oh my god. Oh, if only you could talk.
I'm saying you're right. We should switch it into a person. No, wait. I know just who to use.
So let's not even ease into it. Boy Kavalier wants to put the eye into a human being. So no more lab rat, or I guess a sheep, but an actual human being. So who do you think it's going to be? Let me know in the comments. But I think that might be the wildest thing he's done all season. And that's saying a lot for a man who hijacked a Weyland-Yutani Maginot just for the intellectual challenge. I mean, obviously he wanted to get under Weyland-Yutani's skin, but he didn't just hijack the Maginot just to hijack it. But this crazy idea he has isn't science anymore. I think this is more about, his need for continued domination and his ego. Now, mind you, this is a billionaire so used to getting his way that he thinks playing God is just the order of the day. Because let's be clear, this isn't some calculated step in a research plan. He knows what the eye is capable of, and this is a death sentence for whoever he picks. But he doesn't care, and he doesn't even pretend otherwise. He just wants to see what happens. And that's what makes it terrifying. And of course, what he says out loud is that he needs someone with low intelligence. Someone who won't get in the way. But I think the truth underneath is that he wants someone expendable and replaceable. Someone no one on Neverland will fight for or even bat an eye. Because let's not forget, he owns this place. And whatever he decides to do, there's no one here who can stop him. There's no board of ethics, no legal team, and the Five is not even there to stop him. And speaking of the Five, from everything we've seen so far, they feel less like a real authority and more like a ceremonial watchdog. All bark, no bite. They're supposed to keep things in check, but they haven't stopped a single thing. So it's just him and his next experiment, and maybe the eye is part of it. Maybe he's doing this because he genuinely wants to understand it, which it kind of feels like it is. But let's not pretend that's the only reason. This is also about control and about putting something terrifying into a cage and making it dance. And I also think it's about proving that he can handle it. Now, will that come back to bite him in the ass? I guess we'll find out later. But anyways, it's the same confidence, or maybe arrogance we saw when he brought Wendy online. Except now, the stakes are a lot higher, because this isn't an artificial hybrid he can tweak in the lab. This is an alien organism with unknown limits. And he's not afraid. He's been smiling and fascinated about this creature right from the beginning. And the way he says it, too casually, like he's ordering new furniture. Just put it in a person and see what happens. It's not just bold, it's very reckless to say the least. Because he's not just risking one life. Even Adam, his right-hand man, keeps hammering that point. If this thing really embeds itself in the human population, Boy's not just playing with fire. He's opening the door to something he still doesn't understand. And he's doing it with the same smirk he's always had. The one that says, I've already thought this through. Even if he hasn't. And maybe that's what makes it the craziest thing he's done. Not the idea itself, but the calmness behind it. And not realizing how dangerous that in itself sounds. Like it's not even a big deal. And death is just another part of the experiment. It's not just what Boy wants. It's what the eye might want too. So here's the thing. As crazy as this sounds, it might not just be about what Boy Kavalier wants. The eye might actually want this too. Because let's look at what we've seen so far. When it's inside animals, whether it's a cat or a sheep, well, thinking about it right now, I'm realizing those are the only animals we've seen it infect. But still my point stands because he becomes restless, agitated, and almost insulted. And it kind of makes sense because now that it's in a sheep, so if it has to communicate, it has to either stomp, bleat, and of course, poops, which is not exactly the behavior of a content apex predator. And what really cracked me up was when Boy kept asking questions. And instead of answering, the eye just pooped. That's not random. That's dominance. It's like it's saying, I don't play by your rules, and you don't get to demand answers from me. But back in the previous episodes when the eye inhabited Shmuel, an actual human, that was different. It wasn't just surviving, it was strategic. It used Shmuel's body to lure the xenomorph, emit calls, and manipulate its environment. It knew what it was doing. It also didn't jump ship the moment it saw Zaveri, another human being. So maybe this whole human host plan isn't a violation. Maybe it's the upgrade the eye's been waiting for. Because for all its power, the eye is still trapped in forms that limit it. In animals, it's intelligent but restricted, like putting a supercomputer inside a toaster. But in a human? Now we're talking about actual potential. It'll be interesting to see its speech or language, dexterity, and its problem-solving skills in a human. And if it can communicate, like really communicate, then the balance of power might shift completely. And I was also thinking, what if this is actually a partnership? So Boy gets his chance to study the eye up close. And the eye gets a body that can finally match its intelligence. But then, of course, that's where things get really uncomfortable. Because it's not just Boy turning people into lab rats, it's a possible alliance between man and a monster. One built on mutual benefit, and maybe mutual disregard for consequences. And in that light, Boy isn't just some rogue billionaire messing with nature. He becomes a collaborator. Also, quick observation here. Boy's bonding with the eye, while Wendy's also bonding with the xenomorph. So everyone's got a monster now. And we're just watching to see who breaks first. Why he won't use a scientist or a hybrid. Let's be clear. Boy Kavalier has options. He's got scientists, he's got hybrids, and he's got access to more advanced tech than most nations. So why not use them? The answer is simple. It's not about safety or ethics, and it's definitely not about morality. It's about control. Boy doesn't want someone clever, and he doesn't want someone who might interfere, interpret, or outthink the eye. He just wants someone basic and with a low IQ. Not because he's cruel. I mean, obviously but that's not the reason here. But because he wants a clean test. Sort of like a blank canvas. See, if the host is already smart or complicated, it's harder to track what the eye is doing. But if the person is cognitively simple, like dangerously under-equipped, then any leap in intelligence becomes obvious. So if there's any strange behavior or any new knowledge, that'll be the eye and not the host. That's the control variable. And let's be real. For scientists, that's not going to happen. They're too smart. They ask too many questions, and they understand consequences. Even if Boy could convince one of them, he knows they'd make the whole thing messy. Same goes for the hybrids. They're too valuable and too rare, and we're not even sure if that'll work in the first place. And for all his flaws, Boy's not stupid. He knows he can't afford to mess with the hybrids. Why it might be Joe. When Boy Kavalier says something, it's cold, calculated, and final. So when he says, I know just who to use, that's not a random thought. That's a decision. And the plan is already in motion. And let's just say it. If Boy Kavalier's planning to use someone for this eye experiment, Joe checks every single box. And this isn't some wild theory we're throwing at the wall. Let's follow the clues, the themes, and the logic. And all signs, unfortunately, point to Joe. First, Boy is not particularly fond of him. And that's not even subtext anymore. Boy treats Joe like someone who's outlived his usefulness. He made it clear to him that he was basically there to sort of keep Wendy under control. And he doesn't hide or sugarcoat it. And in this world, that's dangerous. And to make matters worse, he and Arthur the one who disabled the hybrid trackers, putting the entire island at risk. He also tried to sneak Wendy and Nibs off Neverland, behind Boy's back. And now, he's been caught. They've already made it clear they own him. He works for them, not directly, but through a chain of subsidiaries that all lead back to Prodigy. And on top of that, he still hasn't paid for the surgery they forced on him, which is wild because they took out his lungs just to make a nest for a xenomorph. And if you're going to rip someone's lungs out for your experiments, maybe the least you can do is not charge them for it. But anyways, so now Boy's got every excuse he needs to make an example out of him. Not just as punishment, but as a show of control. Because here's the thing, Boy doesn't just want a test subject. He wants leverage. And what better leverage than Wendy's brother? And Wendy has also been pulling away. She's been breaking ranks and doing what she wants. So now Boy gets to remind her that he doesn't just run the island, he runs the people on it. But here's the thing, even if Boy does go through with this, Wendy's not just going to sit there and watch it happen. And now that she basically has a xenomorph in her pocket, if he tries something like that, all hell's going to break loose. And Wendy's definitely mad at her brother. I mean, he ruined their whole escape plan and even tased Nibs. But still, I don't think that's reason enough for her to completely turn her back on him. She's angry, no doubt about that, but not heartless. And Boy doesn't need any approval. He's not going to a council and there's no ethics board. This is Neverland, and he's a billionaire with a god complex, surrounded by yes men, robots, and children. So if he wants to use Joe, he will. And I think another important thing people need to realize is, he didn't say, I'll find someone, or I have a few options. He just said, I know just who to use. And Joe has already been a host for a xenomorph, so what's another round with another alien?